hello, and welcome to The Show with No Name. We have two hosts here today. I'm Adair Palmer, and
I'm Theone Rusianos, actually rocked up today.
Thank you for joining us. We're a day late and an hour early. How's that?
So we're not actually a day late.
We're an hour early on Friday instead of Thursday. And the reason for that is because we have a very special guest today that we will introduce in a moment. But first, The Show with No Name was dreamed up by myself and Theone because we want to help people, charities, service clubs, not-for-profits, to raise funds, find donors and sponsors, and get increased brand awareness and maybe even attract volunteers to help the communities of the people that they do focus on helping. And we have been running for probably about 8 months now. And
it's been over a year because I've been checking my Facebook memories.
Oh, wow.
And it's been well over a year. They've been popping up in my memories for some time.
We didn't have a celebration for our first birthday. What the? Seriously, Theone, come on.
Everyone else is more important than us. It's all good.
But
we've met some incredible people across the journey of doing this show.
We have. It's been really amazing, and we've got more to come, and an incredibly special person today that's going to be joining us to share her story as well. So what I would like to do is, without further ado, Theone's going to give us a little brief about what we're going to share with you today and who we're going to share with you today, and then we will launch into it. So, yes, please help us share the goodwill, the love, the passion for helping people in the community. And you can do that by either inviting people to join us live, which would be excellent, or sharing across to your groups or your personal profile or your pages.
And if you're watching anywhere we have cross-posted this, click on the link that's been shared in the blurb above and make sure you're over at mytimetv.live. And this program is also being broadcast across 50 other channels across TV on demand on the binge networks as well. And so to this week, as Adair said, we've got a special show this week. It is Donate Life Week. And I have a personal reason for wanting to raise awareness for organ and tissue donation myself. And, everyone's reasons are a little bit different. Some people, it's just that they're no use to me when I'm gone, so why not pass them on to somebody? And for some people, there's a bit of a fear and they don't really understand the full impact of organ donation on either side of the fence, whether you're the donor family or the recipient. And for me, it's so for the benefit of those who don't know me, my husband has an ultra rare life-threatening kidney disease. He's doing really well, but textbook case, he will require a kidney transplant within the next 20, 30 years. Now, nothing about Jerry is textbook, so it may never happen. It might be that he needs one in 10 years, who knows. So just raising awareness and getting people to think about it and have the conversation is the way the easiest way and the best way to get the conversation going and get people thinking about it. So we have Julie Wilson with us today. We're just going to share a video. She was interviewed by Sunrise in earlier this year. I think it was in May.
18th.
And so Julie is the mother of Brodie, who lost his life when he was 18. And you'll find out more about it in the story. And they had the conversation. He told his mum when he was 16 that he wanted to be an organ donor. So we'll let her tell you a little bit more about that. And unfortunately, 2 years later, she had to act on his wishes. So we're just going to share this video before we bring Julie on to give you a better idea of what happens and how it is.
when Julie Wilson's teenage son died suddenly, the Melbourne mum made the decision to donate his organs. It was an action that saved the life of a baby girl who was in desperate need of a new liver.
Now the two families have met for the first time, and Sunrise correspondent Nathan Templeton was there for the emotional moment. Nathan, goodness me, it must have been a very special experience for both sides here.
Yeah, it was a real privilege to be there, Sam and Kochie. It is very rare for the family of a donor to meet the organ recipient, so there were lots of hugs and tears and gratitude on both sides. Julie Wilson wears a reminder of her son around her neck every day. 6 years ago, Brodie passed away after having an asthma attack at age 18.
It's awful. I have no words at times for what grief and the loss of a child does to a person. It shatters you to a million pieces. Yeah.
As Julie was saying her goodbyes across town in another Melbourne hospital, Sondra and Anthony Bacon were going through their own hell. Their 14-month-old daughter Alex was dying of liver failure.
We were down to weeks, days even. She was very, very sick.
She would have what were called dying spells every day where she would stop breathing and they'd have to revive her. And then having to come back each morning to see that she was still alive.
And began another waiting. And
thankfully, Julie, if he wanted to be...
He said, when I'm gone, he goes, I don't know what you've got to do. You've got to help them to 8 hours of surgery where you...
One of them was Alex.
The liver did come, and beyond that, it's just been a complete miracle to see her the way she is today. At the same time, we thought about the person that would have to make that ultimate sacrifice.
Recently, Julie connected with Sondra and Anthony through the Donor and Recipients Australia page on Facebook. They've spoken on the phone, and today they're finally meeting in person.
We've got something else we'd like you to do too. Alex.
So good to meet you, Alex. Oh my God, she's gorgeous.
It's pretty special. We wouldn't be here without you.
Yeah, we know that Brodie's the hero of the day.
Yeah. We've been talking about Brodie, haven't we?
He would just have loved you. Just hugging her, it was a tiny little bit like hugging him too, as well as her. Just to know that a part of him is inside there. It's the closest to any part of my son that I've been in 70 months.
And I don't know if thank you will ever be enough. It's pretty special to meet our donor family and Julie and to be able to say thank you, because not many recipients get to do that.
There are currently 1,400 Australians waiting for an organ. We rank 15th in the world for donor rates. Bruce McDowell lost his daughter Alicia in a road accident 10 years ago and is now a tireless advocate for Donor Families Australia.
You wouldn't normally have this conversation, so if you need a prompt, use this story as a prompt. After having heard it, turn to your next of kin and have a conversation. Ask them what they want to do and let them know what you want to do.
Brodie saved her life and other people's lives too. So it's the greatest gift that anyone can give anyone, and that's why we all need to sign up and become donors.
Sondra and Anthony now tell Alex she's got a big brother in heaven and a second mum.
She's such a little doll, she really is. She's so sweet, and I look forward to hopefully seeing her grow up. You're very precious. You know that? Very, very precious.
Yeah, they really were beautiful people. Now, as well as having that discussion with your loved ones, it's very important to register as a donor. So we will put the link to Donate Life on the Sunrise website. And Julie wanted to send a message to any organ recipients. Please do whatever you can to get in touch with the family of the donor, because you can see from that story how much it meant to her.
That's very special to be part of that. That's amazing, Nathan. Thank you.
I was talking to you when you weren't mute, you were muted. That sets the mood. Adair, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey.
that definitely sets the mood, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. Powerful story.
Definitely. Now, Julie obviously needs no introduction. I'm just going to bring her into the show, and just want to say hello while we're bringing Julie in. Hello to Sharon, Susie and Roz. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And if you are here, let us know if you or anyone you know have been affected by this, because I think it's, people that we do. Julie can give us some statistics as well. But hello, Julie.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. That I was, even while, trying to check the team chat and work out what was going on, I couldn't watch that with a dry eye.
Yeah, it was a very emotional day for everybody.
It's a beautiful story, Julie.
Thank you. Yes, it was. And hopefully it continues to be a beautiful story, which I'm hoping it does.
Now, the purpose of, so we were going to have also Kevin Green with us today, but work's taken him away, and that's okay because life happens. But one of the big things for you was meeting the recipient family one of the recipient families. And it's in Australia, it's not something that can easily happen.
Very rare for donor and recipient families to meet. But thanks to Kevin's group on the Facebook page, the Donor and Recipients Families Australia, I was very lucky to find Alex on there. And like I said, it's not something that happens every day. I was the 50th donor from his group to find one of their recipients. So I'm very grateful for that.
So in the normal course of events, so let's remove the group for the moment where the possibilities are there if people know the group exists. What happens when a recipient or a donor wants to get in contact with the other family?
Without the group, the only way for them to contact each other is through a letter that's sent through Donate Life and then onto either the donor or the recipient. But all personal details are taken from the letter. We're not allowed to know any phone numbers, addresses, names, no photos. So it's just basically saying whether or not they're well or not, how grateful they are. So it's very limited on the exchange in letters. It's very limited.
And so what did meeting Alex mean for you?
Oh, wow. There's a good question. It's sort of, it helped me personally in I suppose, healing. The reality of, I know my son donated his organs, but to actually meet somebody who received one of them, it was a little bit surreal. It was very emotional. It was just a whole package of different emotions, feelings, but I'm grateful for it, and I'm so glad that I met her. And just to see, because she was so sick, and then to see her so happy and so healthy, it was beautiful.
It was. So Sharon says, thanks for joining us, Sharon. Wonderful story and so good for you, Julie, after your loss. And it isn't an easy decision to make when you'd already had the discussion. It's still not an easy decision to make in that moment, is it?
No, it's not. If I hadn't had that discussion with him, it would have been a harder decision to make, because I would have wondered what did he want? You know, is this what he wanted to happen? Only that I had that discussion with him, that when I was approached by the hospital to have a social worker come and speak to me, I straight away said to the nurse, Brodie wanted to be an organ donor. So she had Donate Life contact me straight away. So I think that made their job easier and mine. But at the end of the day, it was what he wanted, is to help other people. So it felt right. It felt like it was the right decision.
Did he have to have the card, or was that something that you could do, you know, just say, I know, because he only showed us
talking about that one?
Yeah, the organ donor card that she holds, and it used to be on your license. So
in South Australia is the only state that still has the organ donation option on your driver's license, but even then your family can still refuse.
Yeah.
It's not illegal. That's just an indication that, I want to be an organ donor, but it's not actually illegal. Doesn't really mean a lot.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think that you have to be 18 to register personally. So because he was under 18, when I had this conversation with him, he was 16, and I knew that was his wishes. I just forwarded that on to the hospital, so they just accepted that. But no, he did have an organ donor card.
Yeah. And so Sharon, to answer your question, so it's South Australia. I'm not sure about WA, but I'm pretty sure South Australia is the only state in Australia that has the organ donation box on the driver's license still. But regardless, it's even if you're in South Australia, registering with Donate Life, like those rules can change down the track. If you know now you want to be an organ donor, just register. It's going to make life, and have the conversation with your family, because it's just going to make life easier for everyone. Now, I understand that for religious reasons or whatever beliefs, some people won't. For health reasons, some people also can't. And that's quite okay. You know, this is about being pro-choice, but it's about raising the awareness and getting people to think about it, because it's not something that we think about every day. And sometimes it's not until you need to think about it that it becomes a topic of conversation. Sometimes then it's too late.
Yep. And it can be quite an overwhelming and confronting conversation for some people. So some people I've spoken to since Brodie's passed have even said, I don't know if I want to donate my organs or not. And I've put a scenario across to them and say, well, if you were told tomorrow that you needed a life-changing to receive a transplant, because if you don't, you're going to die. Would you accept that organ? And they've sort of said, yes, I would. And I said, well, if you're happy to take and accept that organ, why aren't you happy to give? And they've sort of thought, well, yeah, that's a good question. So it sort of gets some people across the line to sort of think, well, that's fair enough, because if I needed it, or my child needed it, or my husband needed it, I'd be happy to accept it. So why shouldn't I be happy to give? And it just makes people think a little differently, rather than being overwhelmed with, do I have to make the decision now? Well, yes, you do.
Yeah. And there can be, the decision sometimes not to can be fear-based. I know when I was younger, I had a fear, and it's an unrealistic fear, but a fear is a fear. And I had, you'd kind of think about it. And I was watching something on TV, and I just had this fear around, and this is before I'd ever had any surgeries myself. I've had a few since. Had a fear around, just being opened up for them to take whatever they need to take. But then you're not here. It's not a realistic fear, but it's just that whole thought of what they need to do to help someone else. And the reality is, unfortunately, other than a kidney, so you can be a living kidney donor, you can find a living match. We have one and a spare for people who have healthy kidneys. So you can find a living kidney donor, but not always. And kidney donors aren't always living, as in Brodie's case. So he donated both kidneys as well. And it's just, when, like you said, when we're no longer here, we don't need them. And, unfortunately, Brodie lost his life. But 5 other families have had the gift of life as a result of, his selfless decision to say, Mum, I want to be a donor.
Exactly right. Yes.
And your selfless decision to carry out those wishes, like that would have been, that's an incredibly brave.
Absolutely.
Brave thing to do. So.
Now, I don't know if you want to make comment on this, Julie. I don't know if it's going to be too painful for you to discuss, but Sharon actually says something here which follows on from a conversation we had last night. So, because what you said last night was actually extremely valid, and it made me think. So, mostly they're concerned about their eyes, but I explained their sight wouldn't go after they were in spirit. So now Brodie did have an express wish about his eyes, didn't he?
He did. He did say to me, Mum, look, I'm happy. He goes, when I'm gone, you just take what you need and do what you have to do. He said, the only thing I ask you is, and it was his wishes, please don't touch my eyes. He said, Mum, the eyes are the window to the soul. Please don't take my eyes. And I said, that's fine, mate. If that's your wishes, then that's what we do. That was the way he felt, and I respected that and honoured that. But, yeah, to the answer to Sharon's question, I think once they've passed, I just think they're as they are here. So even if his eyes had been touched, I'm sure his sight would be fine.
Yes, absolutely. It was his wish, though, and that's what you had to follow through with.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah.
And so for you, and so that actual moment when you are, so even though, now I'm not sure of this process, so even if you have registered with Donate Life, is there still, do you know if they still have to have the conversation with the family and ask whether?
Yes, they do.
So it's still not illegal, it's just going to happen regardless?
Apparently, I've heard stories where people have been registered, but loved ones have said no, and they can't take the organs unless the family consents to it. So that's why it's so important that people have that conversation with their loved ones and say, this is what I want, please. If anything ever happens to me, please, respect my wishes. So that's why it's so important for people, just please have that conversation with your loved ones.
Absolutely. And it goes with as well, nobody likes to have the conversation of whatever their wishes are for, their own funeral, that kind of thing. But these two conversations go hand in hand.
Sure.
And I mean, at the age of 16, you would have never dreamed that you were going to lose a son.
Oh.
When he was 16, I mean, not when you were 16.
No, not at all. I actually said to him and his brother that night, look, I don't think I ever really I have to worry what your wishes are, but it's still, I need to know what they are. I said, you've more or less got to worry about what I want, never thinking for a moment that I would ever lose him and then have to honour what his wishes were. So no, don't ever think that, because we're parents, that we don't have to ask our children that difficult question. We need to have those difficult conversations, and maybe people can use Brodie's story as a prompt to start a conversation with their loved ones to say, look, I've seen this story and I've heard what this young man did, and I know you're only 15 or 16, or I know you're 18 or you're 19, whatever age, but have that conversation with your kids, ask them what they want, because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. We're not promised tomorrow, so I've found, yeah.
Absolutely. And so look, thank you for sharing. I think you're incredibly brave for talking about it. I know I couldn't imagine having to deal with what you have had to deal with. Now, if anybody watching is either a recipient of organ or tissue donation or a donor family, remember there is a group available to you for support. I've been in the group for a little while now because of the possibility of Jerry needing a transplant down the track, as I said at the top of the show. And the group's incredibly supportive. There are, days where it's not only the purpose isn't solely for the donors and recipients to try and connect and meet. That's obviously a massive aspect of it. But the support when someone's going in for surgery, receiving a transplant, donating, they'll share a post in there because they're going to be massive moments of vulnerability. It's a huge surgery. It's not, it's not routine, just 5-minute surgery and then you're walking out the door the next day. The recovery is massive for the recipient, and in the case of a living kidney donor, there's a recovery period there as well. The group's just massively supportive, and everyone rallies around and tries to pep them up. It's a hugely positive group to be in, and even when, unfortunately, there are people who have lost lives as well, and the people in the group are supportive to those families too.
It is. It's an amazing group. So it is donor and recipients group, Australia. And please, if you're a donor or a recipient out there and you would like to find your donor or recipient, please join our page and come and find us. I know that.
Sorry for talking over you there, Julie. Theoni's taught me well. I've just popped the link to the group in the comments below, so just click on that.
And it's also been tagged in the blurb above, so wherever you're looking, you'll find it.
Thank you. Yeah, I know that the day I found Alex, Kevin had put a post up asking all recipients to put their anniversary up, and immediately 680 people came in, and I sat for over half an hour just sort of scrolling through, and I finally came across, just took my breath away, the 1st of July 2013 RCH, which is Royal Children's Hospital, and I thought, oh my goodness, could it be, and it was. So, a lot of people come in and just put their dates up and say, does this mean anything to anyone? And someone will come in and say yes, or no, I'm one day out. And we're also supportive of everybody in that hope just to find, their donor or recipient and give support while we're all on there. Just, we've made friends. I've made friends with so many people on there, and it's just a lovely group to go to and just express how you're feeling on the day or an anniversary that's come up, and everyone's amazing on there and so supportive. And Kevin's amazing. I've met Kevin, and he is a lovely, lovely man. Him and his partner Katrine have been very supportive towards me, and I really appreciate everything they've done. They've been amazing.
Yeah, we will have Kevin on another show. His story is quite powerful as well. So he's a kidney transplant recipient himself. And just what he's doing as well to support other families is incredible. So it's the groups. There's about 2,500 members in the group, and they're all Australian. These are Australian. This is specifically for Australian recipients and donors.
Yes, it is. It is. Yes, he's just an amazing man. I'm in awe of what he's done, and this group is just testimony to the sort of person he is, because it's just such a friendly and welcoming and supportive group.
And without it, you wouldn't have had the pleasure of meeting Alex and her family.
Not at all. I'm lucky. I was the 50th donor to find their recipient. So I feel very lucky.
And at the moment, Julie, is that the only way that people actually can through informal channels and then formalise it like you explained earlier?
It is. And also Bruce McDowell, his group, Donor Families Australia, you can register with him too, and they also have all the dates and information, and if there's a match, he also lets people know. So his group is very good too. Yeah, they're actually holding a conference in October in Canberra, their first conference. So
yeah, his page is tagged in the blurb above as well. So have a look, connect. If you're watching and you know somebody who is a donor or recipient, let them know about this broadcast, tag them in it, share it with them, let them see it, because they may not know about this group. And, you know, there are going to be days, anniversaries are huge, and there are going to be days where they need support. And it's a community full of people who understand exactly where they are and what they're dealing with.
That's true. And a lot of people didn't know about the page. When my story was done by Sunrise Morning Show that day, Kevin said the page was exploding because it got coverage and people coming and joining, and which was fantastic. You know, we had so many new members join, and that's what we're wanting. But it was just getting the story out there and letting everybody else out there know how important organ donation is. That please, you know, register. Don't just say, yes, I'm going to do it. Actually go, sit down, open up, go to their website and actually register. It takes 5 minutes, you know, or if you're not tech savvy like me, go to Medicare. Here in Melbourne, we go to Medicare and you just get the forms, grab a few forms, go home, have that conversation with your loved ones, fill out those forms and send them off and get them registered. You know, and help people. You know, that's what life's about, is helping others. And when we're gone, if we can leave behind a beautiful legacy of helping people. You know, I look at little Alex, and she only had days to live, literally days. That baby was so sick, and to know that, you know, Brodie saved her life, and now to see her so happy and so healthy, it just touches my heart. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so Sharon, good question here. So the donor recipient wanted to meet you. So in the case of Alex, yes, because they wouldn't have been in the group if they didn't want to. And it is about the choice. You're possibly going to come across people who don't want to for whatever reason. But it's about having the choice to find out. So it's about both sides, both parties being consensual and wanting to meet the other party. It's not about one party saying, you know, it's not about the recipient saying, I want to meet the donor, or the donor saying, I want to meet the recipient, and then it happening. It's about both parties wanting to meet the other.
Both parties being consensual, and that's what the group's all about. That's why we're there, is because both parties are consensual, which luckily Alex's parents were, and so was I, and that's how we found each other, which was just beautiful.
Yeah. Now, we are out of time. I could speak to you for days. We are out of time.
And I'm sure we will reconnect again very soon, because
I hope so.
You're an amazing woman, and you've your son lives on, and he's leaving an amazing legacy. So
thank you both so much for all your help and for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining. Don't go anywhere. All right. So until next week, I was going to say we'll be with you the same time, same day next week, but we won't. We'll be back to our regular slot, which is 9:30 Australian Central Standard Time on Thursday morning.
Yes.
Thursday morning. So we'll be an hour later and a day earlier. And so until then, have a wonderful weekend. Have a good week, and visit Donate Life if you so desire. We're not forcing anyone to do anything, but have a look into it at least. Visit Donate Life, register to be an organ donor, and have the conversation with your family.
Have a great weekend. Bye.